Wall and ceiling finishing, plaster, putty, finishing materials. Imagine that magical moment when you first enter the absolutely empty space of your future home, where it smells only of fresh concrete and the anticipation of great changes. Each wall in this room is a blank canvas on which you will write the story of your life over many happy years. However, the path to an ideal interior always begins not with a choice of elegant furniture or expensive lamps, but with the fundamental basis which we call rough and final finishing. It is precisely the quality of surface preparation that determines whether your home will look luxurious or if small defects will spoil your mood daily. Many make a fatal mistake by trying to save on processes hidden from the eyes, but a true expert knows that beauty lies in flawless geometry and ideal smoothness. In this detailed guide, we will dive into the world of construction magic, understand the intricacies of plaster and putty, and also learn the secrets of choosing materials that will turn your walls into a true work of art. When we talk about leveling walls, the first and most important stage is always plastering. This is a powerful layer of material that takes on the main load of correcting the curvature and tilts of vertical planes. There are two main camps of materials for this task, which eternally compete with each other for the attention of craftsmen. On one side is the classic cement-sand mixture, which possesses incredible strength and resistance to the effects of moisture. It is ideally suited for bathrooms, unheated basements, or building facades where harsh conditions dictate their own tough rules. On the other side, we see gypsum plaster, which has won the hearts of millions thanks to its plasticity and ability to create a more comfortable microclimate in living rooms. Gypsum has the unique property of absorbing excess moisture from the air and giving it back when the room becomes too dry. Working with gypsum compositions goes significantly faster, as they are easier to apply and dry much more promptly than their cement counterparts. The process of plastering requires from the master not only a steady hand, but also a deep understanding of the physics of materials. The correct installation of beacons is that very foundation on which all further work on finishing the space is built. With a deviation of 0.08 inches or 2 millimeters, this can lead to noticeable skews when installing built-in furniture or mounting floor baseboards. Modern technologies allow the use of high-precision laser levels that project ideal planes on all four walls simultaneously. After applying the main layer of plaster, a critically important stage of surface maturation begins. One should never rush events and try to dry the walls forcibly with the help of heat guns or drafts. Natural evaporation of moisture guarantees the absence of cracks and maximum adhesion of the material to the base, which will ensure the longevity of the renovation for decades to come. As soon as the plaster has completely dried and gained its rightful strength, the time comes for finer and more jewelry-like work, which we call puttying. If plaster creates geometry, then putty gives the walls that very noble smoothness that is so pleasant to touch with your hand. This stage can be compared to applying makeup, which hides all the small pores and irregularities remaining after the rough finish. There's a huge variety of compositions presented on the market, starting from dry mixes requiring mixing with water and ending with ready-made pastes in buckets that have already been brought to the ideal consistency at the factory. For the first layer, a starting putty with a larger grain is usually used, which allows for closing small pits and height differences. The finishing putty, on the other hand, resembles thick cream in its structure and lies on the wall in the thinnest layer, turning it into something like an eggshell. Special attention should be paid to the sanding process, which is the final chord in preparing the surface for painting. In the year 2026, professionals are increasingly moving away from manual sanders in favor of powerful eccentric machines with a dust extraction system. The use of floodlights with directed side light allows one to see even the most insignificant defects, which remain absolutely invisible under ordinary lighting. Remember that for painting, a wall must be brought to a state of absolute ideal, since the slightest scratch or bump will be emphasized by the directed light from sconces or ceiling lamps. If you plan to hang thick vinyl wallpaper or apply decorative plaster with a pronounced texture, the requirements for smoothness may be somewhat softer, which will save your time and budget. The choice of the final coating is the most pleasant and simultaneously the most difficult stage for any homeowner. Modern design offers us an endless palette of possibilities, where each material carries a certain mood and energy. Paint remains the unconditional leader thanks to its practicality and the possibility of easily updating the interior. When choosing paint, be sure to pay attention to its degree of gloss, as matte compositions perfectly hide small irregularities, while glossy surfaces add depth and solemnity to the space. The environmental safety of the composition should come first, so look for marks on the labels about the absence of volatile organic compounds. High-quality acrylic or latex paint withstands repeated wet cleaning, which is especially relevant for kitchens and hallways, where walls are subjected to increased loads. For those who strive to create an atmosphere of comfort and warmth in their home, wallpaper still remains an unsurpassed finishing option. Modern non-woven canvases amaze the imagination with a variety of textures imitating natural linen, coarse burlap, or even the finest silk. The technology for hanging such wallpaper has become significantly simpler as the glue is applied directly to the wall, which eliminates the risk of stretching or tearing the material. If you want to add individuality to the interior, pay attention to decorative panels or wallpaper with designer prints, which can become the main accent in your living room or bedroom. It is important to remember that the pattern on the wallpaper should harmonize with the overall scale of the room, so as not to overload the space and not make it visually smaller. Decorative plaster represents an elite segment of finishing materials, which allows for the creation of truly exclusive surfaces. Venetian plaster, with its deep mirror shine, imitates natural marble and adds palace grandeur to the interior. More modern compositions, such as microcement or materials with a concrete effect, fit perfectly into the style of a loft or minimalism. These coatings possess phenomenal wear resistance and can be used even in wet areas, replacing the usual ceramic tiles. Working with decorative compositions requires high craftsmanship and artistic taste, as each stroke of the spatula creates a unique pattern that is impossible to repeat exactly twice. One should not forget about the ceilings, which are often called the fifth wall of our home. Correct ceiling finishing is capable of visually lifting the room and filling it with light. A classic plastered and painted ceiling always looks relevant and noble, but it requires the most thorough preparation. The slightest cracks on the ceiling immediately catch the eye, so the use of fiberglass for reinforcing the surface is a mandatory condition for a high-quality renovation. In recent years, shadow profiles have been gaining more and more popularity, creating the effect of a floating ceiling and allowing one to avoid the use of bulky moldings. Such a solution looks very modern and concise, ideally complementing interiors in the style of high-tech or neoclassicism. Lighting plays a decisive role in how your walls and ceilings will look after all work is completed. Built-in LED strips, directed spots, and decorative lamps can both emphasize the advantages of the finish and reveal its hidden flaws. Professional designers recommend planning lighting scenarios even at the stage of rough work in order to lay all necessary cables and prepare niches in time. The use of dimmers will allow you to change the atmosphere in the room from bright and working to soft and relaxing, which will make your stay at home as comfortable as possible. Remember that warm light makes colors softer and cozier, while the cold spectrum emphasizes the purity of lines and the modernity of the materials used.